Good morning. Today's lecture is on optical fiber communication DET 3202 course outcomes. The students will be able to understand different communication media, various blocks and applications of optical fiber communication system. Students will be able to understand optics rules and measure the optical fiber cable parameters. Students will be able to identify a suitable optical source for given application. Students will be able to identify a suitable optical detector for given application. The students will be able to identify suitable connectors and measure the losses in the optical fiber cable. And students will be able to understand architecture of the optical network for given applications. So this is the course outcome. We know characteristic of the sources. There are wideband continuous spectra sources like incandescent lamp, monochromatic incoherent sources like light emitting diode, monochromatic coherent sources like lasers. Requirement of the sources useful in the optical communication. Size and configuration is to be compatible with launching light into highly directional into the optical fiber. It must accurately track electrical input signal to minimize the distortion and noise. For that source should be linear and source at a wavelength where the fiber has low losses, low dispersion, isn't it? At wavelength optical communication window. That way the detectors are also efficient. So detectors are also tuned for that. Preferably source capable of simple signal modulation over a wide bandwidth extending from audio frequency to the gigahertz frequency. Source must couple sufficient optical power to overcome attenuation in the fiber and connector losses and receive adequate power to drive the detector. Source should have very narrow spectral bandwidth, line width in order to minimize dispersion in the fiber. It must be capable of maintaining stable optical output unaffected by changes in ambient condition of temperature. So all this we have discussing. We are revising every lecture so that it will become homework or study for you, revision for you all. We all actually. I also get remembrance of this. It is to be comparatively cost effective or cheap and highly reliable in order to compete the conventional transmission technique. So these are the requirement of the sources, how sources should be in the optical fiber communication. Then photon, we know photon is a discrete packet of energy or quanta. Photon interacts with matter, so like source or detector matter, semiconductor material. Quantum theory says atom exists only in certain discrete energy states. So if it exists in this energy state, it will exist in some discrete energy state. In between, there is no possibility of the atom which exists. So there is no possibility for these all energy states. Only for this and this it is possible. Discrete energy state atom exists. That may be valence state, that may be conduction state or lower orbit states. Absorption and emission of the light causes atoms to make transition from one discrete energy state to another discrete energy state. And this absorption and emission which transits the atom from one energy state to another energy state is illustrated in this figure. So this is the principle of working of optical fiber, optical sources. Initially, the atomic condition is at lower energy valence energy state, and one photon get absorbed and it goes into in final state it goes into conduction energy state. This is the absorption of photon. If initially the atomic structure or atom is at the higher energy state, conduction state, and spontaneously, randomly it emits the photon like this, and then this atom goes into valence energy state, lower energy state. So this is spontaneous emission observed in LED. If initially the atom is at the higher energy state, an external photon of HF having the energy equal to band gap energy of the material uh, incident upon it and interact with this atomic structure, then that atom from higher energy state is forced to taken to higher energy level to lower energy level, emitting one more photon of same energy which is equal to band gap energy. that is the frequency is same, that is the wavelength is same, so monochromatic, and both the photons are in phase, and this is called coherent. So coherent and monochromatic emission is in the stimulated emission, it is observed in the laser devices. So as we know, absorption and emission of radiation, the frequency of absorption or emission of the radiation F is related to the energy E between the higher energy state E2 and lower energy state E1. EC minus EV or E2 minus E1 equal to HF. Here H is Planck's constant 6.6 to 6 10 raised to minus 34 joules per. Then the absorption of the photon when the two energy state atomic system is there, it is at the lower energy state E1, and when photon of energy E2 minus E1 is incident upon that, the atom goes into higher energy state. This is called absorption of the photon. Emission of the radiation of the light from photon, radiation in form of light or photon. Again, two energy state atomic level, two energy state or two energy level atomic system is considered. Initially, atomic state is higher energy state, that is conduction energy state, and it can make transition from higher to the lower energy state, providing the emission of photon. And frequency of the photon in that case is energy of photon equal to E2 minus E1, band gap energy equal to HF. So this is the frequency decided by the band gap energy of the material. Two types of the emissions are there. One is spontaneous and another is stimulated emission. Out of that, first is spontaneous emission, in which the atom returns to lower energy state in the entirely random manner. So it is random in nature and spontaneous emission process, and it emits light by electronic transition in large number of atoms. It gives the incoherent radiation. The emission process in the semiconductor is a mechanism for the light generating within the LED. So stimulated emission, in stimulated emission already one photon is having the energy equal to energy difference between the two states of the atom, that is E2 minus E1 band gap energy interacts, this photon interacts with the atom. That atom is at upper energy state, higher energy state, conduction energy state, causing it to return to the lower energy state, that is the valence energy state, creating one second photon, one more photon. It emits the photon generally in incident energy, identical energy to the incident photon. It is having light of stimulating and stimulated photons in phase and same polarization, hence it is coherent radiation. It adds incident wave and liberated wave, emitted wave in constructive manner, and it provides the amplification. That's why it provides the amplification, which gives the laser effect, which are observed in the laser source, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So in PN junction construction, we know the field circles electron, empty circles hole, negative sign circles acceptor, positive sign circles are donors. So in P-type, many acceptors of ions are there. In N-type, many donor ions are there. Due to donor ion, many electrons are there in the P-type. Due to acceptor ions, lack of electrons, that is holes are, many holes are there in the P-type. So these holes in P-type and electron in N-type are majority charge carriers, but some minority charge carriers are also there, that is electron in P-type and hole in N-type. Whenever there is junction formation, there is a depletion layer creation due to the neutralization of the atom structures and ions and exchanging the charged particles, that is the electrons, among them. And this exchange creates the neutralized zone and further avoids the exchange of the charged particles. So it stabilizes, depletion layer stabilizes, and ensures that further P and N region charged particle cannot travel through it. So it becomes electrically insulated. So energy state is shown in this way. P type is having higher conduction energy state and N type is having slightly lesser than that, and the difference is potential barrier. So electrons in N type are having this energy level, and if they want that to go into P type, they have to raise this much potential barrier amount of energy, and this can be raised by uh, applying the bias, forward bias. Suppose P type is connected positive of the battery, N type is connected negative of the battery, and then in that case potential barrier reduces or potential barrier is completely vanishes, and the charged particle on one side get the sufficient amount of energy to cross the potential barrier and they can go into other region. So and when the one type of the charge from one region majority charge goes into other region, they become minority. Large number of minority charges are available. In that case, recombination takes place, and each recombination gives the photon. Okay, and this photon is having, all the photons are having same energy as, because the photon emitted is equal to band gap energy, and band gap energy of material is constant, so photons emitted will have same energy, and that's why same frequency and same wavelength. That's why it is monochromatic source. But they are continuously they are randomly get emitted and spontaneously get recombined. That's why they are not directional as well as in phase. So they are incoherent. It is observed in ELD. The spontaneous emission again have electron hole recombination releasing photon, and that photon is equal to energy gap. Again, these spontaneous emission have two types of recombination. One is radiative recombination, one is non-radiative recombination. Radiative recombination in which the holes are emitted, non-radiative in which uh, non-photo energy is emitted. That means non-radiative recombination energy released is dissipated in the form of lattice vibration and get converted into thermal energy. So this is not the photon energy. So radiative are only generating photon, non-radiative not generating photon. Therefore, there is efficiency less than one. A conversion of electrical to optical. And radiative recombination, the energy released in the light photon given equal to band gap energy F, and that is Eg is equal to Hf or Eg equal to Hc upon lambda. Let us see the velocity of light in the vacuum. Lambda is the optical wavelength, H is the Planck's constant, H is 6.626 10 raised to minus 34 joules second, C is 2.998 10 raised to 8 meters per second. If all they are substituted in that, and lambda is assumed or taken in the micrometer, and uh, Eg is second gap, band gap energy is taken in the electron volt, the formula becomes, this particular formula becomes lambda equal to 1.24 Eg, or Eg equal to 1.24 lambda upon lambda. So these are the formulae, simplified formulae, in which the Eg we get in the electron volt, lambda we have to substitute in micrometer, or Eg we have to substitute in electron volt and we get lambda in micrometer. So this is the recombination process. Whenever there is a positive connected to p type, a negative connected to n type, this becomes forward bias, and this takes a large number of minority charge carriers to transit through uh, junction, and large number of p type carriers comes in the n region. Large number of n carriers, the electron carriers goes into p region, and this electron volt recombination probability increases, and that recombination gives the photon emission, and this photon emission and all these recombination are random and spontaneous and at any location. So spatial coherence is not there, direction is not there, and temporal coherence is not there. At what time the recombination takes place? Also, it is incoherent. So this is spontaneous emission, which is incoherent. Now, for stimulated emission, population inversion is the phenomena required, or it is supporting the stimulated emission. What is the population inversion? In any semiconductor crystal, there is a Boltzmann distribution. So this Boltzmann distribution is this curve exponential minus E by kT. This curve controls the density of atom, which is shown on the x-axis, and their energy, shown on y-axis. And thermal equilibrium, in thermal equilibrium, this density and the energy levels are such that the higher energy state atom density is very less, and lower energy state E2 atom density is very high. So number of atoms in lower energy state are high, but number of atoms in higher energy state are low. And what we require in the radiation of the optical energy, we require higher energy atomic structures. So higher energy atoms are required, conduction energy. Why? Because conduction energy atom transit from higher to lower by emitting the photon. If you want the photon emission, atoms must be in the higher energy state. So the number of atoms are less in the higher energy state. So this is not supporting the photon emission too much. So very less number of photons will be made available for by emission. So this condition of N2 having less than N1, this condition is, sorry, this is N1. This condition is reversed. That is, N1 is made less than N2. So this is called population inversion. Population of atoms having the uh, higher energy state is increased, and population of atoms having the lower energy state is made less. This is population inversion. For optical amplification, this population inversion or this non-equilibrium distribution of the atoms of population of higher energy level is more than the energy of lower energy level. N2 is more than N1. This is known as population inversion. It is required. So this is the population inversion. Again, the same diagram. Boltzmann concentration curve is shown exponentially e raised to minus kt, and now this curve is not controlling the energy and number of atoms. Okay, like this, energy and number of atoms. It is not controlling now. Okay, but the higher energy state E2 is having very large number of charged particles or atomic structures, and lower energy state E1 is having less number of atomic structures or charged particles. Now here the condition is N2 is larger than N1. That is, very large number of charged particles are in the higher energy state and then readily goes into lower energy state by emitting the photon. So photon emission is very large because large number of charged particles or atomic structures are in higher energy state or conduction energy state. So, but for this, achieving this population inversion, there must be uh, atoms which are excited into upper energy level P2, and this is non-equilibrium condition distribution, and this population inversion is done using external energy source, and this process of converting population from lower to higher energy state, large number of population in the higher and less number of population, atom population in the lower energy, this conversion or inversion is called pumping. This process is called pumping. This conversion like this process is called pumping. Pumping is nothing but is achieved, or the inversion is achieved by pumping intense radiation like optical flash or high frequency radio field. So semiconductor have population inversion with applied bias. In semiconductor material, the same population inversion or pumping is achieved by applying the voltage bias. So here the structure is shown, which is semiconductor amplifying medium. The voltage is connected, and the mirrors are placed, and these mirrors are oscillate the photons generated in the length L. And the one mirror is fully reflecting, and other is partially reflecting, partially transmitting the optical output outside the structure as a laser output. So this is the light amplification in laser occurs when photon collide with the atom in the excited energy state. Atoms are in the higher energy state and external photon collides on it, interacts. This causes the stimulated emission of second photon. The first photon, second photon are two photons, and this is continuous avalanche process. One photon creates two, two photon further creates four. These four further creates 8, 8 further creates 16, and so on. So electromagnetic waves of the photon are in phase, so this is coherent, and it will create amplified coherent emission because many times the photons are oscillating in the same medium, so this gets amplification. The laser action of the photon will be within the medium. For that, the laser actions, all the photons should be within the medium. Photon must maintain the condition for coherence, and this is the plane or curved mirrors which are placed are formed on the same material for the maintaining this coherence condition and oscillations. Mirrors are at the end of the amplifying medium. So this is the structure. This structure is called Fabry-Pérot cavity. So optical feedback laser is cavities formed and it is more analogous to oscillator than amplifier. It provides the positive feedback of the photon reflection at the mirrors or provides the positive feedback on both the sides of the cavity. Optical sign is our optical signal is fed back many times, so that gives the amplification. Large number of times the photon travels along the device. This gives amplification. Each time it will interact and generate photons. So one photon generates many photon avalanche effects. So this is the amplification. Structure acts as Fabry-Pérot cavity and amplification of the signal is small when only single pass of the photon is there, but multiple pass of the photon due to oscillations in between the mirrors, it offers gain, large gain. One mirror is partially transmitting and that light radiation escape from the cavity through transmitting mirror. The stable output is obtained when the saturation is occurred. When the optical gain is exactly matched with the losses in the amplifying medium, then saturation occurs and stable output is occurred. So losses are matched by the gain. What are the losses in the amplifying medium? The absorption, the scattering of the amplifying medium are the losses. Also losses are absorption, scattering, diffraction at the mirror and non-equal transmission through mirrors. So this is the gain curve which shows that indicates that there are all the frequencies which are possible as the output frequencies, but only these frequencies are allowed, okay, are amplified. Only some frequencies are amplified or supported. So oscillations occurs in the laser cavity over a small range of frequency. So this small range of frequency is called line width, where the cavity gain is sufficient to overcome the losses, hence the device is not monochromatic. If single frequency is there, it will be monochromatic. But these multiple frequencies are supported, so it is not actually monochromatic, but a very small number of uh, frequencies are emitted. So it is bunch of frequencies. So it is a very narrow spectral band. Okay, a bunch of frequencies, very narrow spectral band. So theoretically it is monochromatic. Practically it is having very narrow spectral band. It is not monochromatic. But that band is very narrow. We can call it as monochromatic. We assume it as monochromatic. Okay. The frequencies are very few, like 10, 5, 10, 7, 8 frequencies. So these are very narrow band. So we can assume it as a monochromatic. The central frequency of the spectral band is average of the energy level difference in simulated emission radiation. Other frequency in the spectral band is by variation due to thermal motion of the atom in the amplifying medium. The medium allows amplification under the gain curve as finite spectral width and relative amplification in the laser amplifying medium with the broadened gain curve is shown here. So with sufficient population inversion in amplifying medium, the radiation is built up and established as standing wave between the mirror. Okay. So whenever the mirrors are placed and the photons are oscillating in between them, the standing wave is sustained oscillation is set up, and the standing wave exists. And that standing wave are only for the frequency which are integral multiple of the distance L in between the mirror. Okay. So distance between the mirror is the integral number of half wavelength of the standing waves. Okay. So when the optical spacing between the mirrors is L, and then that L can be given as lambda q divided by 2n, where lambda is emission wavelength, n is the refractive index, and q is any integer number. Q is integer number. Also, the discrete emission frequency f can be given as f is equal to qc upon 2n. This formula we have derived many times, isn't it, in the previous lectures, where c is the velocity of the light. Different frequencies of oscillation in laser cavity determine the various integer value of q. So this frequency for one q, this is for another q, this is for third q. The difference in the consecutive frequencies is the delta f, can be given as C upon 2n, which is given here, C upon 2n. So this is delta f. So this is called modes of separation of the frequency. So delta f is called mode of the separation of the frequency, C upon 2n. Similarly, delta lambda is mode of separation of wavelength, that is given as lambda square upon 2n. So delta f C upon 2nl, and lambda delta lambda is lambda square upon 2n. These are the two frequency and wavelength modes. And this gain curve, how it gives the selective frequency only selective frequency is shown here. Outside this gain curve, there are frequency which are not supported. Okay, there are frequency but which are not supported. So only this frequency supported for this amplitude, second frequency supported for this amplitude, third frequency for very highest amplitude, fourth is again for highest amplitude, fifth is very less amplitude, sixth is again very less amplitude. This end is almost zero amplitude. So this end, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frequencies are only supported in this figure. So practically 8 to 10, 20 frequencies are supported. Very less line width is observed. So this is called line width. Line width is nothing but bandwidth, band of frequency, spectral width. Large number of modes are generated within the laser cavity. Spectral output from the device is defined by the gain curve. Even though the large number of the outputs are there, the output is decided by gain curve. Hence, the laser emission only include longitudinal modes contained within the spectral width of the gain curve. So only within gain curve the longitudinal modes are exist. So this is the heterojunction. Heterojunction is used to achieve the maximum directional gain, maximum optical gain, maximum laser action, possibility of the laser action, and improving the pumping, reducing the driving current of the device. Otherwise, pumping requires very large driving current. But if the active region is made very thin, then driving current for pumping requires very less. And this is achieved by adjusting the alloy constituents, alloy concentration of the individual elements, gallium, arsenide, phosphide, etc. These are the different elements which are used to make the alloys for making the device. So these alloy concentration is varied for varying the band gaps of the material. So band gap are different for all the regions. One region is having band gap like this, other is having different band gap, third is having again third different band gap energy, and this makes a peculiar structure of the energy diagram so that the charged particles from n side and p side can uh, be collected or can be allowed in very small thin region, which is called active region. So this is active region. Okay. So this active region is only making the recombination. So free charge particles only are allowed in active region, and the photons generated are confined by this optical fiber structure by making the optical active region refractive index higher than the neighboring regions, and that makes the optical fiber structure. So that photons are very much confined allowed only in the active region. So photons are available in large number in active region within very thin area. So that increases the concentration, number of photons, concentration of the photon, and that increases the possibility of further interaction and further amplification. Similarly, all the electrical intensity distribution is also concentrated. This dot 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 as shown in the third figure. So this is electrical distribution. So this electrical field distribution is also concentrated in active region. That's why active region is having higher electrical constant intensity, and that's why active region atoms are pumped into higher energy state. So pumping action and population inversion is only available in the active region in large number. So that's why this is electrical confinement. So active region is uh, due to double heterojunction, it is made thin. Due to optical confinement, all the photons are locked into that region. Due to electrical confinement, all the pumping and higher population inversions are only in the active region. Therefore, all the conditions are made so favorable that the gain increases and possibility of interaction and recognition of the charge carrier increases, and it gives the laser diode. And when it is thin, it gives a very pencil like beam, direct to beam, and it gives very high amplification with very less or very low drive current. So to achieve all this, the active region is made by double heterojunction technology technique. So what is double heterojunction? It is the interface between the two adjoining single crystal semiconductor with different band gap energy. So heterojunction is classified either as isotype or anisotype. Isotypes mean N or PP, same material, and anisotype different material, P and N. It provides the potential barrier useful for confinement of minor charge carriers to a small active region, which is called carrier confinement. Effectively, it reduces the carrier diffusion length and volume where the radiation recombination is there. Used in LED also for provide a transparent layer close to the active region, which substantially reduces the absorption of light emitted, and that becomes high radiance LEDs. It is used in the high radiance LEDs. Heterojunction provides the radiation confinement to active region, and that is the wall of optical waveguide. And the resulting carrier and optical confinement reduces the threshold current also, and necessary for lasing. Lasing is the action of starting the laser action, light amplification. And this is reduces the current driving current by a factor of 100. So driving current threshold current becomes very less, 50 to 200 milliampere or further less. This technique is widely used for fabrication of the injection laser as well as high radiance LEDs. So this is about double heterojunction. Then injection laser, semiconductor injection laser, or injection laser diode ILD. So it is having injection laser diode or laser diode. It is having advantages over other semiconductor sources like LEDs. It is having the advantages over other semiconductor sources like LED. What are the advantages? Laser is having high radiance due to amplifying effect and simulated emission. Injection laser is generally supply milliwatt of the optical power. It is having very narrow line width of the order of 1 nanometer or 10 angstrom. And if line width is less, dispersion will be less. Effect of material dispersion is less. Modulation capacity is very high, up to gigahertz range. Relative temporal coherence is observed, which is essential to allow the coherent detection in high capacity systems. At the present, it is used primarily in single mode systems. So it is very high temporal high coherent also. It is having good spatial coherency also, which allows output to be focused by lens into a spot which has a greater intensity than dispersed unfocused emission. So it creates a pencil-like beam, and it can be processed by lenses to connect into the hair-like small optical fibers. The spatial coherence permits the efficient coupling of optical output power into fiber, even with very low numerical aperture. So first thing is fiber are very less in dimension, human hair like small, and their numerical aperture is also less. Then also it can be very efficiently coupled. So this is the structure one which is having the confinement layers, optical confinement, then electrical confinement, and then there is active reel layer, and there are other conducting layers, N plus P plus, to have the better conductivity to generate large number of charged particles which are taken from both side of biasing, external biasing terminals. So it becomes 5 layer device. P plus N plus are for conductivity. N and P are for electrical as well as optical confinement regions. So these are called confinement layers. And active layer is very thin layer which is for the recombination of the charged particles and uh, laser action and pumping and generation of the amplification of the signal and generation of the large number of the photons and emission of the photons in the very directive manner, very in phase and monochromatic. But now here the direction of the light output is in both the ways. Now if we put the mirrors on these sides, it can be made single direction uh, device. So this is the oxide strip GAS. So here if you observe, very large width is there over which the optical light is emitted. But that width can be reduced to like 9 degree, and height also can be reduced to 45 degree by making a thin layer of active region, as well as very making very small electrically conducting charged particles. Those are transmitted through or connected through very thin width by putting the silicon dioxide insulator layer below the conductor. So that is insulator. In silicon dioxide insulation layer do not allow these charged particles from this metal. This upper side, the total metal is there. Metallization is there for connecting the bias. Suppose positive bias is connected here, positive of the battery. Okay. On other side, negative of the battery. So on other side also there is a metallization. Okay. But the charged particles due to this battery flows only through very small width, and that is achieved by the strip geometry. Only strip contact is created. So this strip geometry, side strip geometry, makes the double heterojunction already thin layer only active in width wise also very small, breadth wise also very small. Sorry, width wise it is very thin, height wise it is very thin, and breadth wise it is also made very small. That's why in both direction the active region emits very pencil-like beam. So still this it is a very directional pencil-like. Very small angle of dispersion is divergence is observed. So this is diverging beam. Beam get diverged in the very small angle. So in horizontal diversion it is 9 degree, and in vertical direction it is 55 degrees observed. So this is also we have discussed. Now we'll discuss the uh, gain guided laser. So what is there in the gain guided laser? As we discussed in the previous case, we provide the conductive channel very thin to this active region, so that that active region can generate photon in thin layer as well as in this direction very small area to make the beam pencil like. Otherwise, this active region may provide beam from here, here, here. So all the active region width is covered with the photon emission. That is not favorable because uh, this device may uh, have the dimension in suppose 100 or 200 or 300 micrometer, but the diameter of the fiber is very less, 50 micrometer or 10 micrometer or maybe suppose 100 micrometer. So the beam is also made very pencil like by putting the limitation on the conducting charge carrier also. So this is first is proton isolated strip. So strip is created. So how this strip is created with the different techniques. First technique is proton isolated strip in the GAS ALGS laser, and second is PN junction isolated, or it is also called diffused planar strip in GAS ALGS laser. So laser, both the lasers are GAS and ALGS because both are having the active layer PGAS in this as well as this figure. Both will have N LGS, then PGLGS, then N LGS, NGLGS. This must be uh, in the sequence. So this is the P and this is N. Okay. And positive is connected on this side, negative is connected on this side. So positive connected to this N, this becomes reverse biased because negative from this side to P is coming, particularly for this junction, negative coming here and positive coming to this N side. So this junction becomes reverse bias. So this reverse bias junction do not allow the charge particle here, isn't it? So very small diffuse the P region is there. Very small diffuse the P region is created. Okay. So this diffused P region is shown here. So this electrical contact metallization can transfer or pass the charge particles through only this P region to P region, then to active region. And this N region to P region is reverse bias, cannot conduct. So in this way the isolation is made and channel is made. Here the proton implantation is done, which is high resistivity proton, which is implanted and make the well like this, and this also avoids the charge particles to go in this region, and only these region charge particles are allowed. So this is P region, this is also P region, and this is active region. Now this is P region, this is P region, and active region will conduct. So N region is additionally connected here, or placed here, or generated here. So this N region do not conduct because of the reverse bias. So in these two structures, the electrical channel is created. In one, high resistivity protons are implanted and they do not conduct. So wherever the proton implantation is there, only through that channel conductivity is there. So already thin active region will have horizontally also very small electrical current flow area. That's why it becomes very thin in both the direction, in horizontal as well as vertical direction. So the electronic beam, pencil-like beam is optical beam, pencil-like beam is created. Similarly, in the second figure, the diffuse the p-type region is first the N, then active region, then P is there. Above that P, N is placed. So it becomes totally reverse biased if positive is connected on uppermost metallization and negative is connected to lowermost metallization. But the very small diffused P region is created. Then that only diffused P region will have the forward bias condition, and only small region will have the conduction of the charge particles. So these are the two techniques which are used for making this very small uh, strip geometry, very small electrical flow. So this is index guided laser. Again, the P region is there only for the very small region, and there is a metallization. There is a SiO2 which is placed in all over the region so that this will not conduct. Only whereas only very small P region will conduct. So this very small P region will have only this much active region, which is conducting electricity, and other active regions do not have any electricity. So this active region already it is very thin in one direction, it becomes very small in other direction also. Okay. So this direction it is thin, this direction it is very small. So totally it becomes very thin in two directions, and that makes the pencil like beam. So here the ridge waveguide is there made. Then this is the indium gallium arsenide P-type active region. Then N-type indium phosphate. Then N-type indium phosphate substrate is there. One material, two material, active region, third material. This is P material, fifth material, fourth material, fifth material. So this is P-type indium phosphate, and this is P-type indium gallium arsenide phosphate. Indium gallium arsenide phosphate. Okay. These are the materials, semiconductor materials we use for making the double heterojunction structures. Okay. So these are various methods used to make active region thin, then through that thin active region, a very thin electrical current flow is made. So optical confinement, electrical confinement, and thin active region, all these makes very small area or volume for very high electrical intensity, for very high electrical current, for very high of photon generation, and confining makes all the generated photon should remain within that region. That makes very high photon concentration. So this is favorable condition for laser amplification. Large number of photons, large number of high state electrons, high state atoms, and these photons are not going outside the region. So large concentration of the photon. This makes the condition to have the oscillation and amplification of the photon energy. So this starts lazy. So this becomes the laser, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Okay. So this is also one more structure, that is the index laser, index guided laser, index guided laser. Okay. So again there is a metal on top side of this. Metallization is there where we have to connect the battery terminal, and lower side also there is a metallization. There again we have to connect the battery uh, power supply to this metallization. So within that there is a semiconductor structure. This is a N-type substrate, NGAS, over which the N-type ALGAS is second layer, and to this second layer on the both the side, this is also same material. This is also same material. There is a sandwich of N-type GAS. This is active region. So very thin and very small in two direction, horizontal and vertical direction, and z direction it is long in that case. So this is very thin as well as very small active region is achieved with the sandwiching in between the second layer, and above that active region there is one more region, that is p type LGAS. So this is one region, this is second region, this is third region, this is fourth region, and then there is a conduction. So in this way, there is heterojunction formation. Okay. There is a N, again there is a N, there is again N active region, there is a P region. So this is one more buried heterostructure. Buried means बरी म्हणजे मराठीत पुरलेलं, म्हणजे जमिनीखाली गाडलेलं. तसं ते इट इज buried under the other regions. Active region is buried under other regions. So approximately very thin active region is there, and width of the active region is also very small, 1 micrometer. So it gives out very pencil like sharp uh, optical beam. Okay, so this is the active region. This is one more structure. Now this completes the different structures of the lasers. Laser structures are double heterojunction structures. Why double heterojunction structures? Because of the double heterojunction, there is an active region is sandwiched in between the other regions, having the less band gap energy than other regions, and allowing the charge carriers to recombine only in the active region. That active region is dimensionally also made very thin and in one direction, and in other direction active region is allowed to conduct only small area charge particles, electrons, by making electrical connectivity with various techniques. What are those? The proton bombardment is there, then reverse bias PN junction is there, then index guided reach type of the structure is also there, then buried structure is also there. All these structures make the electrical uh, current density also in very thin layer. Recombination is also in other 90-degree thin layer. So both directional, very small thin active region is allowed to have the recombination. So that makes the optical beam very sharp or pencil-like. That enhances the gain, that enhances the amplification possibility, that enhances the uh, overall recombinations, that enhances the laser action with very less driving current. Otherwise, if total device is made to have the laser action, the pumping current required would be very large. For complete device, for making those all atomic density or atomic numbers, very large atom numbers, to take into lower to higher energy state, it would require very large bias voltage, very large bias current, isn't it? So as the active region is very thin and on other direction also it is very small, used for pumping or laser action, then driving current becomes very less. So due to this double heterojunction, as we require pencil like beam, we do not require the laser beam of very wide direction or angle. We do not have to excite the total structure crystal for pumping and population inversion, and that gives the peculiar structures for making thin active region and very small active region electrically active, and that reduces the driving current very less, and then the laser device operates at very low power, and that is favorable. Low power operating device are always favorable because their life increases, catastrophic degradation decreases. Okay. For high power devices, their life becomes less. They burn out very often, quickly, because they handle high power. Low power devices, they do not burn up, they do not get heated up much, so they do not burn up. Okay, so that's why electronic circuits which operate on very low power are having long age also. Okay, reliability is more. So all this is achieved with the various effects, that is the confinement layers, electrical confinement, optical confinement, thin active region, double heterojunction structure, and the electrical flow confinement also. That is by burying the structure, by making the photon implementation, by making the reverse bias, the NP region, and by making the ridge-like structure. Okay. Then we go for the light emitting diodes. So this completes the laser. We have seen the laser advantages also. From this chapter, laser is completed. Okay. Then we go for the light emitting diode. What are the advantages? As we seen the light emitting diode, light emitting mechanism, spontaneous emission, etc. These parts we have already covered from light emitting diode. So part of the light emitting diode we have already discussed. So what are the advantages? Advantages of light laser we have seen. Monochromatic is also there, coherent is there, then very high power output is there, then pencil-like beam, very directive beam are there. What are the advantages of LED then? LED is simple in fabrication as there are no mirror facets and in some structures no strip geometry is also required. High radiance LED requires double heterojunction, strip geometry, etc. But low radiance or low power LED do not require that also. So it is simpler fabrication. LED is first advantage. Fabrication is simple because the mirror facet creation etc. is not required, which is there in the laser. To have the laser effect, the oscillation of the photon mirrors are required to create the fabricated cavity. So such fabricated cavity etc. is not required in the LED. So simpler fabrication, no mirror facets. Second, much reduce the cost due to simple construction. LED construction is simple just to make the PN junction device. It is LED. So it is much reduced the in cost. Why? Because the simple construction is there. Third is better reliability. It works without fail for long time. Better reliability. As it does not exhibit catastrophic degradation. Catastrophic degradation, just we have discussed, is due to the high power operation. And LED not require high power. Laser required minimum threshold current and high power operation because laser action takes place after the threshold. So laser is always working high power as compared to LED. So better reliability is there as it does not exhibit catastrophic degradation and are less sensitive to gradual degradation. Degradation means quality of that working parameter or specification of the device slowly gets reduced. That is called degradation. Gradual means slowly. So catastrophic means sudden degradation and gradual degradation means slow degradation. So it is having better reliability as it does not exhibit catastrophic degradation and far less sensitive to gradual degradation also. Both type of the degradations are not there, very less than injection laser and also immune to self pulsation and modal noise problems. So, due to the resonance, the lasers are self-pulsating and generating the modal noises. Due to if it is operated for one mode, the other modal noises are also there. That other modes are generated with a small amount of the output. So these are working as a noise. These are called modal noise. So as we know, the device can have infinite modes. Out of that, the gain curve can control only few modes. But whatever the modes we have designed for the device, the other neighboring modes are also resonated, and that creates the modal noise and self pulsation. This is offered in the observed in the injection laser, which is not there in the light emitting diode. So it is having better reliability, do not exhibit the catastrophic degradation as well as it is less sensitive to the gradual degradation. So its life is very long, and than the injection laser. And also it is immune for self pulsation and modal noise problems. Then next fourth is less temperature dependence. So it is having very less temperature dependence of light output. So it is less temperature dependence of light output. So laser is getting is operating at high power, so there will be temperature shifts. Okay, gradual temperature. LED are are operating at very low power, so there is no temperature effect, less temperature dependence, and the light output, and the current characteristic is less affected by temperature. So the current characteristic is very stable, not affected by temperature. External temperature also it is not affected, and temperature dependency is also less as compared to injection laser. Injection laser's temperature dependency is there. The LED is not a threshold device. As we know, laser requires minimum current to start laser action. Lasing. LED is not threshold device. Whatever small current is connected to the device LED, that small amount of the light it will start emitting. Okay. Very small current is inputted. Very small optical output starts. This is not observed in laser. Laser requires minimum threshold current. Below that threshold current, small currents do not start lasing, and no output is observed, optical output. So above threshold, laser action starts, and then optical output is starting. This is not in the LED. LED is not a threshold device. So raising of temperature is not increases the threshold current, etc. So threshold itself is not there. So temperature effect is not observed. So in lasers, the as temperature increases, the threshold current also increases. So not causing any halt in the operation. So it will not cease the operation in between. Okay. So this is less temperature dependence. Then next is simpler drive circuitry is there. So as the laser is requiring the high power threshold current drive and the temperature dependency, the stable operating circuit driving circuit is required for the laser, which is not at all required for the light emitting diode. Light emitting diode directly you can bias with the help of power supply. No any other circuit components are required except one resistor for current limitation. If required is there only the resistance for current limitation, no other electronic component. So this is to lower the drive currents. Simpler drive circuit to lower the drive currents and less temperature dependence is not required. Okay. So drive circuitry due to lower drive current and less temperature dependence is not required. Okay, simple drive circuitry is just by resistor and power supply we can make the drive circuit. Linear light output against the current characteristic, useful for analog modulation. Linear light output is there. So as we know in laser case, complete linear output is not there. Above threshold it starts emitting. Below threshold output is zero. So it is not linear. So it is not useful for analog communication. For digital communication it may be possible. We'll keep one current value above threshold for zero symbol, and again one more current value above threshold for one value. Suppose for threshold is 50 milliampere, we'll keep 60 milliampere for 0 and 80 milliampere for 1, or opposite 100 milliampere for 1 and 75 milliampere for 0, or 100 milliampere for 0 and 75 milliampere for 1. Anyway, we can decide how the coding is there. Okay. When coding is there, it can be decided. Higher voltage or higher amplitude may be given to 1, lower may be to 0, or lower may be given to 1 and higher may be given to 0. This depends on our system design. Okay. So linear output is not possible with lasers, whereas linear output is possible with LED, because LED start giving our light output at very small voltages. So in case of analog modulation, it can work very well. So linear light output against the current characteristic is in analog output is possible. Then development of high radiance and relatively high bandwidth is there. Okay. High radiance can be achieved in the LED and relatively high bandwidth also can be achieved in the LED. So this development can be done by some uh, device constructional details or achieving some adding some double heterojunction strip geometry like features into the LED. So high radiance and relatively high bandwidth can be achieved. So these are the advantages of light emitting diode. Simpler fabrication is there. No mirror facets are required. Some structures do not require no strip geometry. Some structures require strip geometry for more radiance. It is much reduced the cost due to simpler, low cost due to simpler construction. It is having high reliability because it operates at very low operating current and operating voltage, low operating power. It do not exhibit catastrophic degradation, that is sudden breakdown, catastrophic degradation, and it is also very less sensitive to gradual degradation, slow degradation, as compared to laser, injection laser. And also it is immune to the self pulsation and modal noise problems. Modal noise problems and self pulsation is also not observed in the LED. Then fourth is less temperature dependency where LED temperature dependency less. Current characteristic is less affected by temperature than injection laser. Furthermore, LED is not threshold device. So raising of the threshold is also not there. Okay, just like the laser. Threshold device, the threshold level raising is also observed. So that is also not there in the LED. So it is having the simpler drive circuitry. Okay, drive circuitry is also simple because laser is temperature dependent. One thing, and it requires a minimum threshold current is second thing. To have the stable operation and provide the minimum threshold current, the complicated drive circuitry is required for the laser. And in LED, it operates in very low voltage, start giving the light at very low input. So that's why very simple circuitry is required. What is circuitry? Only the biasing voltage. And if required, one resistor for current limiting. So simpler drive circuitry due to lower drive currents and less temperature dependence. Then sixth is linear light output against the current characteristics useful in analog modulation. So it is having very linear output. So lasers are not having linear output; they are having non-linear output due to the threshold property. So it is having linear output. It can start from radiating from very low to very high. So this is sixth. Seventh is development of high radiance and relatively high bandwidth is possible. If we use the double heterojunction, if we use the strip geometry, then in the LED also, then LED also becomes very highly radiance LED and relatively high bandwidth also can be developed in the LED. So these are the advantages of LED. So laser is having its own advantages, light emitting diode is having its own advantages. Okay. So I think we have discussed the light emitting diode advantages and we can discuss details about the LEDs, etc., properties and some creations in next lecture. So very few points are remain from LED, and after that we will finish the third chapter. So I will upload the quiz further. Yesterday also I uploaded many quiz. Let me stop the recording first. So I will discuss for 3 4 minutes more.